Communalism Combat welcomes you to this week's show with an interview with Pakistani human rights activist and journalist Rabia Mahmood, who will speak about the situation in Pakistan, overall situation in Pakistan, the situation of minorities, and also the question of rule of law and other issues. How would you sum up the position of minorities in Pakistan?
Minorities in Pakistan today are excruciatingly persecuted, discriminated against, and it looks like they have nowhere to go, and they have no one in the country who has their back, at least not people in positions of power. You have activists and grassroots workers from the minorities. You have activists and some lawyers and human rights advocates who work for them. But yes, there are minority parliamentarians in the parliament as well, in the Provincial and National Assembly, but they are not empowered within their parties, or generally how the system is. They are not empowered, and minorities have no one who's looking after them. They are extremely oppressed, marginalized, and just trying to get through the day, because also very vulnerable and face a severe security situation.
Where does the problem lie? Is it the problem in the way the state itself, the formation of the state, and its shift away from the secular democratic structure to something else? Is it legislation? Is it the law and order apparatus? Or is it non-state actors?
Oh, it's actually all of the things that you said. I would say that the non-state actors come really after all of that. It starts with the legislation. You have 295 ABC, which are the blasphemy laws, and 295C is the blasphemy law, and the rest are also for people who degrade religion in any way. And when we say religion, generally it is the majority religion, and religion of the majority, and that is Islam, and not the other religions, because if we were following that, then people would have to think about degrading other faiths as well. So this is 295C, and the punishment for 295C is actually death, capital punishment. So that is there. Then we have Ordinance XX 1984, which is anti-Ahmadi ordinance in the Pakistan Penal Code, and it is basically called anti-Qadiani ordinance because Ahmadis are generally called Qadiani, and Qadiani is a derogatory term, considered derogatory by the community. So, and that law, apartheid law, where human rights activists have called it apartheid law, and that targets specifically one religious community. And the way it's written is that it's so loose that it's open to interpretation. So anyone can just say that an Ahmadi cannot pick up a Muslim name. It says that you cannot pose as a Muslim. And what does it mean to pose as a Muslim? That they cannot grow beards, they cannot cover their heads, because the faith is, they're practicing people. So all of those things. And so you have these two laws. Oppression is institutionalized, it's constitutional. And because of that legislation, I'll give you an example. Every time one talks to, when I was a reporter, and I used to report on religious minorities regularly, and in my experience, every police officer that I have spoken with, and I've asked them questions about bizarre things, like why did you demolish the minarets of the Ahmadi mosque? We were not supposed to call it mosque, we were supposed to call it place of worship in Pakistan according to the law, at least Ahmadis themselves. And then that's the general procedure is, and norm is, that no one else says it as well. So if every time I've asked a police officer about something like that, they've said we cannot really do anything, it's according to the constitution. You see, it's there. And it's the same with 295C, blasphemy cases which are filed, which can be filed against anybody. A lot of minorities get to face that. Hindus have faced that. Christians, we have some like really high profile cases of Christians as well, and Ahmadis also, and people of the different Muslim sects. Not just the minority sect, which is the Shia sect, but also Wahhabis, Deobandis, Barelvis, people, if they want to settle scores, they want to manipulate somebody, they want to take over someone's property, land, anything, they can file a blasphemy case against them. And it's most of the times, see the data of the past decades show us that there's hardly ever any respite from that once you get picked up or arrested because of blasphemy laws. And in fact, people who are fortunate enough to get acquitted can never live the same life. And even the acquitted, no, it's just like there are so many people from all communities that they are pariahs for life when they even when they're acquitted in blasphemy cases, and their lives are not safe sometimes, most of the times. So this is what the police officers say, this is what the apparatus, just basically this is how people respond, because the law is there. And even those we've done for my work at the Jinnah Institute, for our research on religious extremism based on violence, or our work on religious minorities, if we've had some consultations with senior police officers and people who were senior police officers, and have seen that very closely. And that's what they say too, that if we were to sort of address the law situation, then maybe things would get better. Of course, it's also a matter of sensitivity of the police officers and how the society that they've grown up, the curriculum that they've studied, what they've heard from the clergy, and then you see a family situation as well, because they are from the same society. Even if they are not extremists as such, or they don't want people dead, it's just that they do not know what else to do. We've had parliamentarians who've tried to sort of address this situation. We have had senior judges, senior lawyers who've tried to pass out judgments which could lead to improvements and stuff, but no, I wouldn't say that there are any concrete steps which would tell us that that any government which has tried to do something, it was serious. After the Peshawar attack, the government came up with this National Action Plan, and it addresses the situation of extremism in the society and hate speech and stuff, hate speech that incites people to violence and hatred. So they have tried to address it. So far we've had 21 arrests. Reports say that 21 people have been arrested, out of which one was a cleric, and they've been charged with like 5 years and 8 years. But that is there. But at the same time, when you go to Lahore or Faisalabad or Karachi, anywhere, and you will come across in the public spaces banners, posters, advertisements on rickshaws against Ahmadis. And if not against Ahmadis, you will see wall chalking against Shias. And if not that, then you would see messaging in the public space which glorifies the majority religion in a way which is unnecessary, and it's a repetition of the message that this is what is important, this is what we need to defend. You see, if it's not against a particular sect or a particular faith, then it says that we need to defend an XYZ component of Islam, or which is just sort of, it reinforces the same message that anybody who does not agree with it, we have to defend it from those people. And what does it mean? The kind of language it is aggressive language. So this is how it is. So we still see that, and we've seen that the government has banned hate publications, and in the list of the publications that they've given includes material which was basically materials that particular communities have published for themselves, and it's there based on their faith. It is not for preaching to other people, but it's for people of their own community, you see, Ahmadi community or Christian community. And that is being looked at as hate material, because, and who hates that material? For whom is it hate material? It's for the mainstream, we call it like the majority religions, for the people who practice the mainstream Islam. It provokes them into what? Into attacking. Like, it's just this bizarre, vicious cycle, and their interpretation of Islam is extremist. And in fact, even this is not what you'd ask, but like even some of those Islamic scholars who have tried to address this, who have said that we need to resort to dialogue with other communities, and we cannot go down that path of aggression and murder and killing and violence, and they have and they've had threats. So some of them have left the country or come back really in an underground situation and then leave, and they are not in Pakistan any longer.